Bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil pour le 6 juillet. To open this evening, I will ask Councillor Nicol to read our land acknowledgement.
Madam Mayor, as we meet today, I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of the land on which we are gathered. The municipality of West Nipissing respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the homelands of the Anishinaabe people, the traditional territory of the Nipissing, Temagami, and Doki's First Nations, covered by the Robinson-Huron Treaty. We honor and recognize their historical connection to the land and value their significant contributions in shaping and strengthening our communities. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility towards reconciliation and improving our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures.
Thank you, merci. Next, I'll take any declarations of pecuniary interest. Councillor Larrabee.
I have a pecuniary interest in the home business portion.
Okay, so that's
number 4.
section 4.1.2. Thank you, and Madam Clerk will get you the papers that go required. Next, we'll move.
Camera's on. It's recording, it's live. But why is it like that?
Okay.
Are you seeing it on YouTube?
That's me up in the corner.
Camera's off now, now it's back on. Why is it like that?
It's like they're switched. It's like you are the main camera.
Can the outside world see it?
It's okay on YouTube.
Okay,
It's okay.
yeah, okay on the outside. You can see it on YouTube.
Okay, sorry about that. Next, we'll move to adopt the agenda. Madam Clerk.
We're all fine. It is moved by Councillor Restool and seconded by Councillor Nicol. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting held on July the 6th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, and all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the meat and potatoes of the meeting this evening. Number 4, new business. So what I plan to do as we go through is to work through the staff report first and go section by section on the staff report. And if there are questions, comments, clarifications, we can work through those. When we get to the end of the staff report, I'll open it up if there are any other sections of the zoning bylaw that you'd like to speak about, and go from there. So with that, we'll get started. Madam Planner, Ms. Willick has presented the staff report and good introduction, and then a series of proposed revisions which reference the specific sections of the zoning bylaw which are relevant. So the first section is for the transition provisions. Having read those, does any member of council have questions or comments in relation to that section? Okay, if you do want to go back, you can. Good, good. I think that's pretty straightforward anyway. On the page 2 of the staff report, section 3 definitions, there's a proposed addition of a definition for a permanent basis. Questions, comments, thoughts on that? Section 4.2, accessory uses, buildings and structures. Again, this was a change in response to some of the questions in regards to agricultural uses of accessory buildings and structures. So there's some very minor text changes in there. Questions or comments on that?
Should we all?
Yeah, Councillor Barr.
Should we only talk about this page in particular, and then we'll go through the whole bylaw with if anybody has any?
Yeah, well, I wanted to go through the staff report, like the specific changes that have been put forward in the staff report first, and then I'll open it up, and we can hopefully reference the sections that of the zoning bylaw you're talking about at that time.
Thank you.
Okay. I actually have one question on that. On the section about 4.2.5 for maximum number. It says maximum number of accessory buildings permitted on a lot less than 1 hectare in any residential zone shall not exceed 3, but for both rural residential and shoreline residential, the minimum lot size is 1 hectare.
That is correct.
So what
So through,
so I just like how that would clarify, because we've already said that that's minimum lot size and we have accessory structures at 3 for the shoreline residential and the rural residential already. And I understand that there are a few either rural residential or shoreline residential properties that would be significantly larger, although anything over the 4 hectares would be rural zoning, would be RU, which is a different ball of wax. So
yes, through you, that's exactly it. Any lots that are shoreline residential or rural residential that are between that 1 and 4 hectare, that's where this would apply. Because we did receive comments from the public for properties that are 3.5 hectares and rural residential to not limit them to just 3 accessory structures. So as you said, there likely will not be a ton of those lots.
okay, but one that is 1.0 hectares would also have the 4.
Sorry, I don't know what you're.
Well, because you're saying that. What's the old, like the old regulation says the maximum number of accessory structures is 3 on any residential lot.
That's correct.
Is
Yes.
this correct?
Yeah. So for example, a rural residential lot that's 3.5 hectares would still be limited to 3.
Okay, but a rural residential that's 1.2.
Would also still be limited to 3 under the current version because it's a residential zone. So this is just expanding for those rural residential and shoreline residential lots that are over 1 hectare.
Okay, no, sorry, it's confusing the way it's written. In that if that's the case, it's only undersized RRs or SRs that are 3.
I-
All do
That's
you know what I,
correct.
like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Ones
we
that
said
are-
3, and then if the minimum lot size is 1 hectare, you're saying anything that's 1 hectare or over is 4, which means that the regulation on SR and RR should be 4.
So you'd like it to say permitted on a lot less than or equal to 1?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I wanted to say.
Remember?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, yes, yeah. All right, like from what I'm understanding here, so 2.2 acres, you believe that any lot should just have so 3 accessory structures?
No, but I just want to make sure that that we're not contradicting ourselves in different parts, like there's no other part that references that, like I don't care if a lot that is 1 hectare or more has 4, as long as the lot coverage is respected, right? It doesn't really matter to you.
Yep.
You want 4 10 by 10 sheds instead of a 40 by 40 garage. It doesn't really matter. But I just want to make sure that we're not contradicting ourselves. So is there in the tables? Is there anything in the tables that need to be updated on that as well then?
Not that I believe so, no.
Okay. Okay. So it's only undersized lots that would be limited to 3, basically. We're going anything that's R1 to R4 generally. Plus RRs and SRs under 1 hectare are 3.
That is correct, yes.
And anything over 1 hectare would be permitted 4.
So there isn't a specific number. It's, so if you have a lot that was 1.5 hectares, it wouldn't be specifically, you get 4. It's just as many as you can fit within the lot coverage restrictions.
Okay. Hey, Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Member. Question would be, is there a difference between the residential lot and the shoreline residential for accessories of buildings?
So through you, there are additional provisions for accessory structures in shoreline residential zones, specifically talking about structures that would only be tied to a shoreline residential, such as like your boathouse, something like along those lines. But that's really the only difference in terms of their, like, they have their own setbacks. But in this specific provision, the shoreline residential will be grouped in the same umbrella as the
They would,
entire board.
they would be treated as a shoreline or residential. The amount of buildings, whatever, is the same.
Yes, so for the purposes of 4.2.5, the shoreline residential would also be subject to this provision and the R1 to R4 and rural res.
Okay, if I remember, the reason I'm asking that is I have a resident that did call, said that his property was always residential, was labeled residential. The last bill that they received, it was changed to shoreline residential. And he says, well, why did they change that? And this is why I'm asking today, is if there's a disadvantage.
So through you, that if it's in regards to a bill, I would assume that's the property tax bill and
Well, that's
that would be tax assessment and what they're stating as the use, that's not the zone.
because on the other side of the river, it's still residential, but on one side was changed to shoreline residential. So would that be the information that the staff would provide to MPAC or how?
So MPAC doesn't rely on your zone, it relies on the actual use of the property, so a change in a zone won't necessarily impact your MPAC.
Okay.
However, if you were changing your zone from residential to commercial to allow for a commercial operation, and then you were to establish commercial operation, then you would be in MPAC's commercial tax category.
Okay.
But they don't necessarily automatically change it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor St. Louis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for this, anybody below 1 hectare are only permitted 3 accessory buildings. If there's some currently out there that have more than 3, are we making them take it down or are they going to grandfather it?
Well, the
So if
current,
somebody
the
has
current regulation is 3, so if anybody has more than 3 accessory structures at this point, it should have been done through variance and with a building permit. So legal non-complying or legal non-conforming is if something was built prior to a change in the bylaw legally, like with the proper permits and all that kind of stuff. So right now, you're only permitted 3 accessory structures on shoreline residential, rural residential under our current zoning bylaw, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so this is an expansion. So, you know,
But I'm not talking about shoreline and or rural, just
Yeah.
in general. So basically, anybody that did it prior to they have more than 3 or more than what they should have been.
well, it depends on whether the structures would be deemed legal non-conforming or legal non-complying, which one is use and one is
Yeah.
structure, but so. Yeah, like, let's say that there's a property where the structures were built in like 1997. When Springer was Springer and Field was Field and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know that we would go that far back if.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. If there's some out there right now that do have more, what are we going to do about it? So are we gonna?
Well, they would, yeah,
Are we gonna advise the residents that, listen, if that's what you have right now and you're not in compliance, please come to the municipality and advise us? That's because I don't know. Well, so and if the bylaw officer goes by and sees anything and, they're. Yeah, absolutely.
Any use that is legally established before the passing of a bylaw is automatically grandfathered. So if they were permitted before, they're still permitted. If they built them without a permit in the first place, that's a different discussion. But if they had 5 and there was no rule at the time that they built them, they get to keep them.
Okay, so what if they didn't build? What if it's a CCAN or something like that? You don't need a building permit for that, correct?
Still a structure.
I know.
It still
but you don't-
counts.
I know that it counts, but you don't have a building permit for it, so you didn't come to the municipality and get a
But they
building.
put it on the lot
Yeah,
before there was a rule that it
Yeah.
couldn't be there. So it's still legal non-conforming.
okay, that's what I mean. Thank you.
They put it there where it was permitted. So in town, if they put it in town, it's not permitted.
Yes.
It never was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So, clear that up.
Yeah, I just, again, like I said, if they're like, Madam Clerk said, if there's individuals that did it, which wasn't supposed to happen, and if it's in town, then deal with it when the time comes. Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions on the accessory buildings structures? Councillor Pellerin?
Thank you, Mary. Accessory building, old house, gazebo, sleep camp, is that fall in that category?
Sleep camp does a boathouse?
Yes, they would be deemed an accessory structure.
Okay.
So all these three, you have one of the, you can't have a shed.
So in our current bylaw that we're currently operating under, you're only permitted 3 accessory structures. So that is correct. Yes, those would count. There is a certain section of the zoning bylaw that says which structures are excluded. But what we're looking at doing is just expanding the permissions for lots that are over a hectare.
To me, that's too restrictive on a lot of 1 hectare. 1 hectare is 2.2 acres. It's 200 feet by 420, 430 feet deep. Like I say, if you have a boathouse, a gazebo, and a sleep camp, you can't have a shed in the backyard. To me, that's too restrictive.
Councillor Larrabee?
I also agree. We should be less restrictive on especially 1 hectare. Because that's a good sized lot.
By the way, there's not too many lots on the lake that are 1 hectare. Very, very minimal from living to sturgeon. And a lot of people have a sleep camp, have a boathouse. They have probably couple sheds,
Right.
a garage, so. Anyway, again, it's too restrictive.
Comments or questions on this? What would you propose, Councillor Ronhart?
I did think that 1 hectare was a little big to be at that limit of 3 to 4, 3 to unlimited. But so 1 hectare, they can have more than 3, but slightly under 1 hectare, then they can only have 3. It's pretty big, 2.2 acres.
Could be maybe.
I would-
That's what it is.
Less than one
That's what it
acre.
is now. So
Yeah.
that's what staff based it on was maintaining the
I think the
status
thing like
quo.
is 0.5 in an acre is like 0.5 of a hectare is 1.1 acres, right?
Yeah.
I find at that point there should be like a 5, and then over that becomes kind of like between 1.1 to 2.2 is 5, and then after that it becomes limited. A hectare, you can fit quite a few sheds on there to hide your toys and your machinery to cut your grass and stuff. You got lots of grass typically.
Okay, Did you have your hand up, Councillor Ferre?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, did I hear correctly? You said that a boathouse is included in the accessory structure?
Sorry, my apologies. So a boathouse is an accessory structure in terms of setbacks and provisions like that. The entirety of this section is the maximum number of accessory structures permitted on a lot less than 1 hectare. In any residential zone shall not exceed 3 unless otherwise specifically permitted. An outhouse, pump house, sauna, boathouse, ground mounted solar panel, boat lift, launch ramp, marine railway, or unenclosed deck are excluded from the maximum number. So a sauna or a boathouse in that scenario wouldn't count towards your 3. But if you had like 3 sheds, those 3 count.
Thank you. That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, that's why
I was sure
trying to
about
find
those
it in here, but
In the.
I think Councillor Pellerin?
Still, I think that the 4.2.5 should be changed to less than half an hectare. That's my thoughts.
Okay. And anything over half hectare is unrestricted as long as it meets the lot coverage requirements.
Over 1.5 hectare, we should change the 4.2.5 to half an hectare. Half an hectare over would be permitted more than 3 accessory structure.
As long as it maintains the lot coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a proposal on the table for a change on that. I'll just see how many would come up with that.
Rise for a show of hand.
Yes, please. Okay,
I was laughing, Council Russell, I wasn't.
okay, so I'll just clarify less than half a hectare. And so, okay, shall not exceed 3, unless specifically permitted by the bylaw. I don't know if you want to put in something there about, I mean, the lot coverage is the lot coverage in the table, so that's,
Yeah, the lot coverage will still apply.
Okay.
Yep.
thank you. Okay, anything else on 4.2 accessory structures? On the staff report? Okay, next I will move on to 4.1.2 home-based businesses. There's a proposed change to that, and I'll open the floor for questions or comments on the home-based businesses. Councillor Penright, Councillor St. Louis. Sorry.
I'm not quite sure why it changed to 3. I believe that we had decided that 8 was an adequate number as a council, so I'd like to see it remain at 8.
Other questions or comments, Councillor Penright?
I agree. I think it was discussed at length. I think we gave clear direction on that. I don't see that there has been any new information that would make me change my mind anyway. So again, I would think we agreed on 8 and let's stick to 8. That's what I propose.
Okay. Councillor Gagne?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've had multiple residents call me and actually affected the area that I currently live in, so I think home-based business are commercial business, which should be in commercial areas. I think these landowners should be requesting for rezoning instead, because now that there is 2 currently, more are going to pop up, all different kinds of commercial business or commercial services with more than 1 or 2 clients. So we are turning residential area into commercial area, adding multiple additional cars, parking issues on streets and so on. So I would like this to go back to 3 at the most. And have those landowners look at the other areas to offer those services. It's too much traffic. We're going to have many more issues if we don't regulate this. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Restal?
Thank you. Through Madam Mayor, I tend to agree with the 2 councillors who spoke first. I think some of these businesses have been operating for some time. And with anything that we're going to agree to with changes to bylaws, part of that is the enforcement of the bylaw as well. So if there's parking issues or traffic or speeding or those kind of things, we have some of those things. We have police services available for speeding and whatnot. Some of them are bylaw related. But I just think for the feasibility of businesses in some of these cases, to have 3 clients isn't feasible for the business to survive. I think there's somewhere we had discussions on where we wanted to go with this, and I thought we were good at 8, and I was a bit surprised when I saw the new version dropping all the way back down to 3. So as I started my comments, I agree with Councillor St. Louis and Ferran. I'd be more comfortable keeping it where we were at 8 clients.
Okay, Councillor St. Louis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I understand where Councillor Gonchi is coming from. I believe it should remain at 8 right now. Is there an opportunity for us to say, okay, once again, there's that word, let's grandfather what's there now?
It is, and that's in the staff report.
So that's
So
in the
this
staff
does
report,
not, this does not impact the businesses, the businesses that are currently operating are not impacted by the change. It is what home-based businesses look like
in the future.
going forward.
Okay,
So
so
the
I thought I had
businesses
that
that
too.
we have received numerous comments from are not actually impacted by the change because their activity is legal, non-compliant. Like
Okay,
it was established before the bylaw would be passed. And I think that that's one of, I'll just speak to that. I think that's one of the things that, you know, as a council on the home occupation side or the home-based business side, you know, most of the conversation has focused around a couple of specific businesses in one specific neighborhood, instead of the conversation being in the context of like broader community policy. So, you know, what is appropriate for residential neighborhoods in total, as opposed to the conversation being very focused on a specific type of business in one specific neighborhood. But yeah, so
So-
that it does not impact the businesses that are currently operating.
okay, so on that note, the businesses that are currently running won't be impacted by this. Do they have a number though? Can they go to 10, 12 or whatnot? Did we ever in the past provide them a number of maximum number?
There's no current maximum in our bylaw. So it would be, if they wanted to expand, need to demonstrate what their capacity was at this time prior to the new bylaw.
No, I know. So my point is, right now, they're permitted to have 8 or 10 or 12, correct?
Let me double check.
I just want to make sure because I don't disagree with Councillor Guanyi moving forward. Maybe we should look at 3 or 5 maximum. However, we have businesses that were permitted to do what they have done in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, and we've allowed it. So I think going back to the grandfathering portion, they should remain at, but we should put them and give them a number. I agree that 10 or 15 is way too many, and that's why we had agreed to 8. So if we can somehow word it that, you know, the grandfathering portion is 8, or if there's numbers.
So we can't grandfather them at a certain number because their grandfathering is to what they are right now. So if one is at 6 and one is at 8 currently, that's what they're grandfathered at. So we can't put in a specific number for grandfathering because what if they're at 12 and we say 8, that they're still grandfathered at the 12?
Okay, so, but do we know what they're at?
I
We don't?
don't
Okay.
have a written number to confirm.
So if the past businesses are able to continue working like they were in the past, I don't disagree with Councillor Gagne in the sense that maybe would prefer maybe 5 as opposed to 3. I think 3 is extremely low. If we're gonna have home cares that are permitted to have 5, then I think other businesses should be permitted to have 5. But I'm still, I would love to see or know what the number of some of our home businesses right now that are running at more than the 8 that we have. How is that gonna impact? Right?
I guess I would add to that, the home occupation specifications within the current zoning bylaw, I think are written there's a lot of, it's discretionary, right? So it frames what is permitted in terms that are hard to quantify. So, you know, things like there shall be no emission of noise or vibration that changes the residential character of the dwelling. Well, how do you measure that? How do you say what level of noise blah, 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 blah. And I think that that's where, so, you know, the businesses that are, it's not based on number of, much of the language is all about impact to the residential character of the neighborhood, and yeah, so I think that, you know, but, you know, it does say in the staff report that it's like any of the provisions of the bylaw. When they pass a new zoning bylaw, those are the rules going forward. Anything that was developed under that is compliant with the existing zoning bylaw is maintained. So, you know, given that information, Councillor Rivera.
It's for you. So now I'm just getting some conflicting thoughts on all this with respect to like we added that whole, you can have one street parking, but if that road has no street parking, then how are we? I don't get that. Like if there's no street parking, there's no street parking. How are we gonna say that a new business can have? So that means these existing businesses can have unlimited street parking? If a new one can have only one, but there's no rule, that's where this whole not legal non-conforming thing, it's only if you know about said business and there's something strictly in place for, to me, that's how that always works in my line of work. It's not legal non-conforming if it just pops up. Then somebody can just say, you know, hey, I have a plan next year, I want 12 people, so I'm just gonna say I'm 12 right now. And then it never ends. So this parking aspect is what's confusing me now, because we said a home-based business can have one street. But so are we technically saying that these existing ones can just use any amount, yet that street probably shouldn't have any street parking? So should it just be none? Right? Like at what point? But if we start talking about street parking and home-based business, then we're kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, Sam.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Miss Wallen.
So in our current zoning bylaw, we state that the location of required parking spaces needs to be located on the same lot as the use or building. So under our current bylaw, all of the parking spaces that are required by the parking calculation need to be on the property. There is no on-street parking currently permitted. So by, if we were to amend the bylaw as it's being proposed here, those legal non-conforming existing businesses wouldn't be able to do unlimited street parking because under the bylaw that they were established under, all their parking needed to be on the site.
But now they can do one.
Correct.
So like maybe that's an easy way where we can kind of repeal a little bit. I don't see why street. Yeah, I felt this way the last time as well. Like you're in a residential neighborhood, have your parking on your site, assess your to accommodate your customers. That can keep it easy. Free parking, I don't know. That's
Councillor Nickel.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. So just clarifying, the businesses where they currently are, it's only at that address, or if they were to move, can they take?
No, it's that.
So it's just at those addresses. And then if they were to start up somewhere else, it would be under the new bylaw? Correct, okay, thank you. So the current home-based business owners I've spoken to, I know that they've all taken steps to ensure there's not an inconvenience to the neighborhood. I don't think it's gonna be an overnight effect, you'll notice a difference, but I think in the long term, some of them, we will notice the impacts. But moving forward, I still would be comfortable with 8 customers at a time. Thank you.
Councillor Bonnie.
I think the other issue that we have here is enforcement. And I think we need a licensing bylaw to be able to permit our bylaw officers to enter those premises to make sure they're respecting the current or the new bylaw that will be implemented. I would like, I don't mind grandfathering in the current home business because home gyms businesses, because legally they were permitted to do it if they followed all the rules and the regulations. But I think for new builds or new home businesses in R1s should be limited to 3 clients. And there are other opportunities in other areas where you can build a home business with the adequate parking. And there's a less that residential area. So that would be my recommendation.
Just to follow up on that too, in the new zoning bylaw, there is a new commercial designation C5, which is our neighborhood commercial. So, you know, those people who would like to run a business on an existing residential property, have the opportunity to rezone it for commercial use within that C5 designation. And that allows council through the Committee of Adjustment or Planning Advisory Committee to examine those businesses and the scope and scale, the appropriateness of scope and scale for the precise location. So, you know, there might be a very different a business of this scale, whatever the scale is in this location might look really good. Maybe it's a higher traffic street, maybe the lot's larger, maybe. But having the C5 commercial as a new neighborhood commercial zoning designation does allow opportunities to have commercial businesses established in traditionally residential areas, but under a proper rezoning application that allows that proposal to be examined. So, okay, any other comments or questions on that? So, I've heard on both sides, people comfortable keeping it at 8, people who would be more comfortable going to 3. So I just need to get a sense of that. The proposal in the staff report is to go to a 3 client. I'd like to see who's in favor of that. Is there any other proposed changes? Is 8, Councillor?
I'd like to see probably 5 moving forward.
Okay.
That's just me.
I put that out at a 5, a 5 client limit. Show of hands on that. Okay, so we'll stay at 8. Okay. There are additional, sorry, I'm reading and catching myself up at the same time. On page 3 of the staff report, moves into the addition of outdoor storage of recreational vehicles as a new permitted business within rural recreational and A1 zones. I'll open that up for questions or comments. Okay, I'm sorry, I just want to.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Ravana?
Through at that our open house, right? Marcel Noel Hall, there was that mention. I just wanted to make sure that younger girl who sells eggs, like something like that's not in contradiction with the zoning bylaw, right? Because she's in agricultural and she's selling eggs out of the container.
Yeah, I think there have been changes a little later in the staff report in regards to basically those activities fall under agriculture or on-farm diversified uses.
Yes, so 3, that would be considered a non-farm diversified use. And we did amend 4.2.2 to say that about accessory buildings being used for additional residential unit agricultural uses, on-farm diversified uses. So that was added in response to that comment. So that now.
That's good.
Okay, I do have a question under the 4.12.2. Sorry, I just want to reference another section. For if outdoor storage of recreational vehicles is being conducted as a home-based business, would that use need to comply with the same regulations on outdoor storage of display and materials 4.2.0, which lays out outdoor storage for industrial and commercial uses. If it's a home-based business, do they have to follow the same regulations under 4.2.0?
Through you, it certainly could be added to that to make sure that it is very clear. The one potential hesitation I would have to that with that 4.20.2A, requiring that the outdoor storage be located behind the building line of the main building. If you've got, say, a 100-acre property and the house is built 60 feet back, that would preclude any storage from being in that first 60 feet. You can certainly amend it so that that does apply to the home-based businesses. That would be the one regulation that I would just want to confirm if that was what you wanted to apply there, if you want more flexibility on the location for a home-based business.
Okay. So the other provisions of that are lot screening, screening from view.
Yeah.
So a fence or whatever that, where the storage area is specifically, marked off for that use.
Yep.
And that the 5-meter setback from adjacent residential uses.
So sorry, it would be section 4.20.2 that would apply, not 4.20.1.
Okay,
So it would be the outdoor storage would need to meet all the minimum required yard setbacks of the primary zone.
okay. Okay. So is there, sorry, I would propose that if it's being used as a home-based business, that the screening and setbacks be added to that the provisions for outdoor storage would apply to commercial and industrial, also apply to those residents. So I'd see a show of hands if people would be. Okay, no? Okay,
I don't know if you.
what's that?
It's not clear for me what you're asking.
Okay, so if outdoor storage, which is like not in a garage, like just open air storage of recreational vehicles as a home-based business. So if somebody is charging somebody to store recreational vehicles on their RU or A1 properties. There's something in there about the limit to the size, but the outdoor storage provisions otherwise in the bylaw say that area needs to be screened either with like a landscaping buffer, so either a cedar hedge or a fence no shorter than 2 meters, so a 6-foot fence that fences off that area. And that the setbacks of the it has to meet the underlying setbacks for the zone. Councillor Heatherly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
To me, if it's in the backyard, your business. The neighbor doesn't like it, can build a fence. Or plant some trees.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Okay, so now I understand what you're saying. So what is your recommendation?
I would like to see the provisions of the outdoor storage that apply to commercial or industrial outdoor storage. If it is a home-based business, if somebody is charging to have other people's vehicles stored on their properties, that they have to set off the storage area and basically meet the provisions that would be otherwise required if it was a commercial or industrial use. In red, like the residentially zoned properties are anyway. And that's all. So that was the question, is like, I don't know if you guys have the V3 zoning bylaw, but it's the provisions are 4.2.
4.20.2.
4.20.2.
You jumped ahead.
Well, it's only that it's just consistency, right? Like if it's a business, it's a business. If it's a business on a residential lot, it's still a business. Councilor Nickel?
Did you mean just RR or AU and O as well?
I know, I mean,
I just think of a property like,
yeah, I mean,
I
if
think it
it's,
doesn't make sense to put back there.
yeah, Sam, what would you say on that? Like, the RRs are more concerning because the general RR property sizes are at the 1 hectare or, I mean, you might get, there's no RRs that are over 4 hectares.
Through
But
you,
generally, a lot of them that are created are at 1 hectare, right?
yes, through you, if it's a concern about the required in the rear yard, we could look at putting instead of referencing back to the section 4.20, we could add a provision to this 4.12.3 that sets out that said outdoor storage needs to be to meet the setbacks and be screened from view, something along those lines, so that the storage in that rear yard provision, that wouldn't apply. That would.
Counselor,
Yeah, I don't mind that, like, I understand it's only if there's remuneration, so if people
Yeah.
are charging people to. So they are technically running a business, yeah, they should respect their neighbors at that point. You know, a lot of people don't do that, they just have like. The parents' trailer and their trailer, that won't require.
No.
Obviously, I'll try and not put them right on the line, but no, this isn't the case where you mean
mhm.
you have 10 acres and then you start just renting. Need to store a bunch of stuff. Okay, yeah, I agree. It's not gonna be very many that would be affected by this, and they are making money, at that time they can invest to respect their neighbors.
So you'll work that out. I think the screening is the screening and the setbacks.
Certainly on that, yep.
I'll just see a show of hands on screening and setbacks if it's outdoor storage for that. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on that section, which was home-based businesses, goes from page 2 to page 3? Okay, I'll move on to,
Sorry,
yes, thank you, Councilor Galvin.
in regards to the home business, how do we know when someone sets up a home business? Is there an application or?
No.
Can we create something or? Like if we do a licensing bylaw, at least we know that somebody's coming in. I want to run a business. I want to run a yoga studio. I want to train, do 10 people. No, you can. It's a maximum of 8. Like, how does it work like currently?
Complaint driven.
Yeah, well, that's a problem. So we either do a licensing bylaw where someone who wants to run a business, come in, do their application, they explain why. And make sure they follow the bylaw.
Mhm.
Also at the same time, our bylaw officer knows that there's a business that's gonna be, and he can go by and make sure everything is according to the application. That's a piece that's missing.
Yeah, I would say that is not a zoning bylaw discussion, but a separate discussion as to whether or not we want to get into a licensing thing for home-based businesses. You know, so it's probably not a discussion for here and now, but a discussion for a future council meeting.
Okay, but still, how do we enforce current home businesses?
Okay, good.
But how can we go in the homes and inspect if there's nothing?
Sorry,
Right now.
Councilor.
If there's a,
Councilor. Mr. Pilon.
If there's a complaint,
That's it.
we can look at the provisions of the current bylaw or whatever bylaw will be in place, and they do have the authority to ask those questions and potentially do those site visits and make sure that they're in compliance with the current bylaw, if there's a complaint.
Did you have a question, Councilor Pilon?
I'd just like to add, so you have a home business, whatever it may be. That percentage of the house usually would be changed to commercial at impact. So you pay 20% of your residential assessment at the rate of commercial, and the rest of the house would be residential.
Can you?
Yes, that is correct. However, that is subject to to knowing about it. If we're aware of it, then we flag impact to go and have a look and find out what the amount of floor space, and then they are charged a different rate than the residential rate for that portion of the dwelling.
Okay.
So
Counselor St. Louis?
I think that would be a fantastic idea to touch on Councillor Gagne's point that if we're aware of it, well, if home businesses have to get a license, then we'll be aware.
I'll speak with Mr. Kumar, bringing that forward at a future meeting. It will not be next Tuesday. But we'll just bring it at committee to have just a general discussion about, what that might look like and, what the process would be, and then, we can decide as a council if that's something we want to explore. Okay, we'll move on to section 4.24, prohibited uses. So there were some just slight text changes made there. Any questions or comments on 4.2.4? Great, seeing none. Section 4.2.6, recreational vehicles. Does go on for a bit. Questions or comments on the amendments that are shown there.
You want to wait at 4.26.
4.26, bottom of page 3.
Right.
Councilor Rivera.
Is there still that, there was a lot of confusion at the open house regarding that maximum of 2 storage on shoreline residential. Wasn't really aligning with the rest of everything else. I think it was causing enough confusion with. I don't see that on here now or striked out.
It has been removed.
It has been removed. Okay. Oh, okay. It is. BI. Okay, thank you. I thought I didn't see it straight. 4.26.1 BI. Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Councilor Nicol.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I have a question, Ms. Willock. At the open house, it was mentioned by a resident storing his neighbor's trailer possibly during the flooding. I don't see any language in here that allows for that, but is there a flexibility, say at the end of the season, he could allow a couple neighbors to pull their trailers to his higher ground lot, given the type of flooding we've been having, just to mitigate any of those concerns?
So through you, that was one of the revisions that was made previously. Shoreline residential was covered by 4.26.1B, which said that the recreational vehicle that you're storing on your lot has to be owned by a resident. We've since moved, or proposing to remove the shoreline residential into A, which does allow for the storage of recreational vehicles that you do not own. However, if it is going to be for like an exchange of money, then you're subject to that home occupation section. But this would allow for instances like that. If it's not for money, that it would be permitted.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Councilor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I still struggle with the no recreational vehicle shall be stored on a lot which does not contain dwelling. So if an individual owns a home here in town and has a lot somewhere else, and he doesn't have a home on that lot, we're telling that person that you can't park automobile or your trailer or four-wheeler or whatever on a lot that they're paying tax on. Is that what we're saying right now?
In the case of a residential 1, 2, or 3, yes.
I don't agree with that.
Councilor Pettit.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm gonna ask the question then, is because my thinking is always, if we pass a bylaw, we have a clause in a bylaw, it is to solve a problem. So what is the problem in having and storing a recreational vehicle, on a vacant lot, what is the problem we're trying to solve?
Through you, if I may, through you, my mayor. It's, when we have a discussion about economic development and having R1, R2, R3 lots, typically they're more than often serviced lots. And we're now allowing somebody to simply purchase a lot and have it for, I don't know, however many years to be unoccupied when we're looking for economic development of housing, promoting all of these things through provincial initiatives, through federal initiatives. So that is part of the reason why. But, in a residential area, do you really want an empty lot to just be stored for a bunch of recreational vehicles? As a neighbor, say, those types of things. So I think, there are a number of reasons, but some of those are some of the, we talk about responsible planning in the province of Ontario. Those are some of the principles that are taken into consideration when we talk about residential lots, rural 1, 2, and 3 lots. Or we're having those discussions where, those lots are necessarily created or zoned in an appropriate manner. They're for housing, not necessarily storing a bunch of recreational vehicles. If you're interested in doing that, you may look at different sort of options outside of those zone properties. Maybe perhaps Ms. Willett can add to that, but
I do believe you covered that quite well. I just wanted to add as well that we currently do not allow the storage of recreational vehicles on a vacant lot, so that's not anything new that we're adding in. Yeah.
So it's so different than the reason we don't allow someone to build just a garage on a R1 or 2.
Right.
Sure, okay, thank you. Just wanted that to.
and it's for those specific zones, right? R1 to R3.
All right, yes.
What defines a vacant lot? What structure cannot be on a vacant lot?
Well, any vacant, if you're talking about residentially zoned properties, any residentially zoned property is considered vacant if it is not built for the principal use, which is residential use. And so if a lot is vacant if it does not have a house. Now, currently, it is not permitted to build an accessory structure on a residentially zoned property without building your house first, or at least having the building permit in place.
That's correct.
And so I don't know how MPAC would deal with, I know that we do have some properties that are zoned residential in some form that have only garages or only accessory structures. But generally, once you create a lot and that lot is given a zoning designation for residential, the purpose of that lot is for housing. It is to build a home. The purpose of an industrial lot is to build, industrial properties. Purpose of a commercial lot is to build commercial properties, and the purpose of an agricultural lot is have a farm.
Yes, yeah. I understand what you're saying. Somebody has a lot and not ready to build on it, or he wants to keep it for his kid or whatever. He wants to park a few machines out there, but we've got other bylaw that can take care of that if it's a big mess. So the way where you're describing this is like, well, the lots there, it's for taxes, it's for a building. It's almost like saying, well, you can't build too small. You gotta build bigger to get more taxes. It's almost in that sense to me that I see that. If you own a vacant lot, and you're not ready to build on it, like I said, you can have it for your kids or whatever. So I don't see that. Like Jose Farah said, is there a problem that we come up with these go get it?
Councilor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's way too restrictive. My view on this, if you have a lot that you're purchasing, you have your home and you buy a lot either adjacent or way back in rural area. Not saying in town, in rural area, and you have a car that you bought for parts. Now you can't store it. And there are property standards that will keep it clean. If it's not clean, then like Councilor Perez said, well, we have ways and means to deal with it. But like there's a lot of people that do have two lots. One of them is their home, the other one is for storing their stuff
We're strictly talking about R1 to R3. We're not talking about
in town.
rural residential or rural properties. We're talking about R1 to R3 here. Again, it's not new to planning whatsoever. This is pretty well standard in all communities, as the mayor has prefaced. Those properties are zoned appropriate for residential development. They are not zoned for necessarily for storage of anything outside of, unless there is a principal residence on there. And we're not talking about a minimum size. Minimum size for a house right now is 188 square feet. So you can choose to build a small home on it. You just have to have and occupy a home before you're able to lawfully store recreational vehicles. Now you can store.
Thank you for clarity.
You can store recreational vehicles on the lot. R1 to R3, you'd just be taking your chances that you're contravening the bylaw, that's all.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because I think rural, should be on a double standard, which you said. Yes. In the city, yes, I want your neighbor to be looking at. Awful sights. Thank you.
Councilor Ferrer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a very difficult question because I do see that point and I do understand it. And I think in the case of building an accessory structure without a dwelling, I see the point even more. But we don't force people, for example, to build a house if they own an R1 that's vacant. Someone has the right to buy an R1 and leave it empty for as long as they like. And I doubt that someone is going to buy an R1, pay $60,000 for an R1 lot simply to store their trailer on it or their snowmobile. So we're saying if you happen to have an R1 lot and you're keeping it for something in the future, you're keeping it even as an investment, well, would it make a terrible difference if we allowed them to store a recreational vehicle on it in the meantime? Because I don't think that people will go around buying R1 lots for the specific purpose of storing recreational vehicles. They're just doing it because they happen to have it, and it's their right to have it. It's their right to leave it vacant. It's a difficult question to slice, but I just wanted to bring that point up.
Other questions or comments, Councilor Restwell?
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor. The only comment I'd make is that this isn't proposing anything new. It's just consistency with what we have existing right now. When it comes to there's a problem in perspective. No, there's not a problem right now. Maybe because that's what's in there right now. So we don't have a bunch of lots with a bunch of recreational vehicles stored on them. So just wanted to keep that in mind for us and for those listening. This isn't something new that we're proposing to limit people to not be able to. That's how it is right now. It's just a continuation of what exists in our current bylaw.
Thank you. Okay, so would you propose that you want to propose that be removed and see where it lands, or?
I think first we have to deal with what staff are proposing. And then if someone wants to propose to remove that restrictions for R1, R2, R3, maybe that is dealt with a separate question. Would that not be the proper way to? Because otherwise I think we're going to confuse both issues.
Okay, so, okay.
So the proposal as staff is presenting it, I'm okay with.
Okay,
So, and then if either myself or Councilor Pellerin wants to propose that we move R1, R2, or 3, I just think it's a more clear way to, I don't want to get, I don't want
okay,
to get moneyed.
I'm, I said I'm muddy.
Yeah, me too.
Well, okay, so we're talking about 4.26.1 B.
Maybe we should ask, how she feels we should tackle this. And because you want the direction of how to move forward. So,
I can follow along however, so wishes to proceed with this.
Okay, well, was there any comments on the earlier section? So 4.26.1 A. We'll do it like that. So if everybody takes a read on 1A, is there anything in there that that you have questions, comments, or? Okay, Councillor.
Okay, so
St. Louis.
4.26.1A,
Mhm.
recreational vehicle may be stored outdoors on the lot. In the shoreline residential, RRRU, or A1. I'm just trying to see, and nowhere does it talk about having a dwelling, correct?
No,
He does.
No, I get it. So I guess my point is, and I understand the whole process of what we're talking about, and try to encourage, building homes and so on and so forth. However, but it would be okay to have a beautiful lot on a shoreline, on a beach, and just have a bunch of some trailers. So that's okay, but not in town. That's my point, right? So I'm just saying, we do for one, in my mind, do for all.
generally the difference between the SRRRs is the servicing, right?
Yeah.
So, an R1 has a much higher development potential.
Yeah.
As far as both density, like density and services, it's far more both for the municipality and generally for the developers. A service lot is far more attractive, and so it's a much greater presentation of lost potential.
I would beg to differ in the sense that if I could afford a lot on the river or on the lake, I would go on the river or on the lake. Can't, you go in town, right?
Councillor Restal?
Through you, madam, just further. Also, Stanley, I think if you could afford or if anybody, not you, anybody could afford a shoreline, you're probably not gonna use it for storage, right? You're gonna buy that because you want to build there and have your, so I think that's probably part of the rationale why it's
But
included.
that's touching on what Councilor said earlier also. Not many people will pay 60,000, 75,000 in town either, without the intent of the.
And just, again, I'll just go back to my point, we're not creating anything new. If we talk about the general idea of if there's a problem, then we should be using this tool to try and fix problems, but we don't have a problem. So if we're gonna change it into this, where we may see a number of lots across these R1, R2, R3 start to turn into storage lots, then that's gonna create a problem that just doesn't exist right now. So it's kind of the reverse thought, right?
Councillor Pellerin?
Okay, at the open house, we had somebody talk about. I bought a lot beside my lot. And I kept it in separate names so it doesn't merge. For the later on for his kid or whatever. So now we're saying, well, you can't park your boat on that lot or. I had the same thing at the lake. You say nobody's gonna buy a lot. just to store it. But I can bring you to one place, the guy is small lots, so he bought the next lot over. And kept it in a separate name for a selling purpose later on or whatever. He's storing stuff, both the trailer and the other lot. Now, if we put this law in place, a neighbor just to not bitch, but wanna make trouble, he's gonna use that. Right, he's parking a boat on his vacant lot.
But those aren't R1, R2, R3s.
Okay, well, the one in town, like the guy said at the open house.
He's rural residential.
I know there's another place like by the sewage plant, there's a guy, I know that the house that's been sold and the guy bought the lot beside him.
Something that's not new. It's been in place for years. This has been in place for years.
No, I'm just saying, I know of examples where there's a vacant lot beside the house and there's parking. People should be allowed to do what they wish with their lot. We've got other bylaws in place that if it's messy, this bylaw kicks in place. That's my view.
Councilor Fennec?
So can I propose that we decide on 426(1)(a) first? And then when it comes to 426(1)(b), I will make a proposal that we accept the staff recommendation, but without I. And if that fails, then we'll ask for short hands for B as the staff has presented. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. So 4.26.1A, which deals with SRRRU A1. No issues with that. Everybody's okay with the staff recommendations.
Sure.
There, show of hands, please, so we can get through this. Thank you. Okay, 4. Yeah,
So this here, it says in RR, which is no unlicensed, dilapidated, unserviceable recreational vehicle shall be permitted, right?
yes.
Well, dilapidated, I agree, but no unlicensed. Councilor Bellarine just said if you have a lot somewhere and you want to store your, we do have car mechanics and they need to, like sometimes you have parts in a vehicle, you just store it in the back of your property, and so this would be restricting. I know that law was, I guess, in the books, but was never enforced. And now we're talking about it and we're gonna be enforcing, that wakes up the people saying, hey, no. So. Is this, am I interpreting this right here?
I would look to our staff,
That's correct. Yeah, it has always been in the bylaw.
and that's it. Okay,
And
Councilor,
if there was a complaint, it would have been looked into.
Okay.
Councilor, Repart?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone, like, I feel like we're getting in the nitty gritty a little too
Yeah.
much about this one specific issue. This one, it's more to be able to deal with very troubled properties. Like, people will have some of these things. You're never going to be able to write it the perfect way that can exactly accommodate everything. But the idea is, like, so if someone has an unlicensed car, I highly doubt anything will happen. It's been going on for a while. But if somebody has maybe 10 unlicensed cars and 10 dilapidated, then at least the conversation can happen with the bylaw officer, with staff, and it can start being worked on. But if we start to like nitpick all these little things about a vacant lot not being parked on next door, nobody cares if you have a vacant lot next to your lot and you park a trailer on it for a year. Just feel like we're going around in circles here for something that it's already in here. It never caused a problem. I
If
don't
it stayed
believe
that
it
way,
will cause a problem either. So, To me, it just feels a little.
Okay. I'll go to Councillor Restoll and then Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I agree with Councillor Rebar. We're getting into very specific situations and we can all draw from different, we're trying to look at the broader implementation of this. The other thing too, just so that we stay on point here, we're talking with storage of recreational vehicles. If someone has a car in their backyard or a truck in their backyard, that's a motor vehicle. It's not a recreational vehicle, so it's not even applicable to what we're talking about here. But I think that just lends to the discussion that we're getting really far into specifics like this, and we're starting to lose the header of the section that we're talking about here. We're talking about recreation. So if Joe Blow's got a car in the back that he likes to work on, that's not even anything that we're talking about here. So just, I know it's good discussion, but I think we're just going in circles here on, should be moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Fidel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did forget to mention, I believe there's a typo. 426 IB, it's 954. Not 955, because the section changed.
Deleted, yep, I've got it right. Thank
And
you.
I think that appears some. Yeah.
I'll do another review. of it. I'll change, yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna go back to 4.26.1 because we had a show of hands and we had a question. Is everybody okay with 4.26.1 as written? Sorry, 4.26.1A as written. Okay, and then we'll move on. 4.26.1B. Okay,
I am proposing as the staff suggested without I.
okay. So B deals with properties that are R1, R2, and R3. Councillor Ferrin is proposing that we remove point I from the bylaw. So I just see a show of hands. Okay, questions or comments on that? Is that clear what's being asked? Okay, so a show of hand, sorry, Councillor Romer.
I'd just like to say, just because we stopped talking about it, I do believe that this should be in, try and encourage lots to remain vacant for the right reason in the urban setting. There are some people who have already reached out. They are actively searching for a lot. And I told them, why don't you just go look in rural residential or rural and do the same thing? These are service lots that we shouldn't. So I understand the whole comment about maybe nobody will buy it for 6,000 to store. So many. And there are some towns that go as far as a vacant lot. You actually pay a vacant lot tax because you want to try and encourage building in these areas, right? We're not doing that. We're not anywhere near that. But something like this, you are technically, now someone may just purchase that lot and sit on it for God knows how long to store a vehicle when they could drive 5 minutes and buy a lot that's not serviced, not within our urban core, and unstore their vehicles. And then if somebody's doing it right now in a respectable manner, I highly doubt it will. It's the intention of building one day or something.
That's already in the bubble.
It's already in.
Any other questions or comments on the removal of I? Okay, a show of hands, who's in favor of removing I from the proposal? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, that's removed. Okay, any other questions on 4.26.1B? Okay, moving on to 4.26.2.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I'd just like to touch on, I think B should match A when you do that. No unlicensed dilapidated, it should be the same sentence. And A is in it's slightly different. So in A, it's no unlicensed dilapidated or uncertain. The other one, it's no recreational vehicle which is not licensed in good repair and service. Like it should be the same.
Consistency in the terminology there.
Is there preferences to
The laughing.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
Moving on to 4.26.2. We want, yeah, let's do that. Councilor Nickel?
Thank you. I had a few people reach out asking for clarification on what are adequate gray and black water disposals. Would there be a way we could add a definition of what is acceptable, do you think? Or maybe I would.
For you, we've added adequate being constructed and maintained in accordance with the Ontario Building Code. So Ontario Building Code would be what would set out what's considered adequate. So we're just kind of referencing the proper legislation in that sense.
So if they ask me, direct them there. Because, okay, for example, somebody said, could I have an outhouse? I don't want to say yes or no because I personally don't know what's adequate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So-
So probably come in and talk to staff, like with those types of
In
questions.
accordance with the Ontario Building Code.
So our building and planning staff could give the specific information on what the requirements are.
Okay.
Councilor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it would be very important to know what would be adequate for the resident. You know, instead of calling in, we are on television, we could tell them if you have one trailer or two trailers or whatever, if a hothouse is adequate or as a septic system, like, you know, for gray or your black. I think that would be,
That would be the North Bay Manawa Conservation Authority's jurisdiction. As they handle part of the building code.
I would just like. I would just like to add the options are limitless. So you'd have a probably 50-page bylaw. Thinking about all the options based on all the different stuff, it's impossible.
so we could be saying one trailer could need a full-fledged septic system. Like, holding tank and a fuel bed. Or we could, or is it reasonable for us to assume that that's what
That's
we're
what someone
hinting on?
wants.
Or,
If somebody
or
wants
just a
to-
outhouse is good enough, like,
Well, that's what that says, is it has to be in accordance with the building code, so then they would have to reach out to the correct authority to the correct area and get approval. Similar to anybody who's building a house or a camper. It's very similar. It's actually the exact process. But the options are kind of limitless, right? I believe the way it's written here is it's so open to the aspect of everything's possible as long as it meets code. I ask the right questions to the right people.
Yes, all right.
Just out of curiosity, let's say somebody has a trailer. I know a house is legal, place even for a house, but let's say the trailer has a holding tank. Is it the conservation authority that has the say, or do we have the say? It's okay for a permanent trailer to use your tank as long as you get it emptied by a professional and have a contract signed or whatever. Just curious.
or a honey wagon.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That
So who decides that? The conservation authority or we do?
would be the North Bay Manawa Conservation Authority, as they're the ones responsible for applying that part of the building code. The Conservation Authority makes the decision.
Okay,
Also-
and they wouldn't track. Okay, when did you empty your, would they take that responsibility? Did you empty that every month or have you got a contract or? I think it
Don't know.
will fall back on us, right?
No.
No? Okay,
Madam Mayor, if I may, so what I'm hearing is we don't put nothing in place for the disposal of your gray and black water. We leave that to the North Bay Manawa Conservation Authority. Well, that's great. The government would do their job and we don't enforce use our bylaw officers to enforce that. Right? That's what I'm hearing. That's what I've been saying all along.
Madam Clerk.
If you will recall, we had a presentation from Paula Scott and Brent Tratch back in the prior council term where they indicated that if we don't put in place regulations at the municipal level, they can't enforce at the higher level.
That's what we're trying to know.
So we have to make the rules and they would enforce the rules.
Yeah, and that's when Mr. Brent Trax told us that 3 trailers is equivalent to 1 home output.
Something like that.
Yes,
There's calculation in the building code.
yeah, that's what he suggested. Time, I think. I thought the numbers were 3 trailers. Anyway, that being said, if we've asked if we're gonna put, if an outhouse is good, and we're being told we don't know
So
proper.
the language that Ms. Willick is using is adequate. The adequacy is determined by the building code. So if there are 10 trailers, the building code has a built formula in it that says that the effluent on that many trailers equals this many liters. Then therefore they know whether you need a field bed, whether you need an outhouse. That's how that, so adequate is a number to to describe what is needed for each situation.
That's, if I may, that's what I'm be looking at. I'd like to see, what are we asking our resident to have? Is our outhouse sufficient? Or do
Adequate,
they need-
septic,
Yeah, or they need a full-fledged,
it depends on what they have on the property.
and
If they
this,
have 2 trailers,
Mhm.
the adequacy is different than if there's 10 trailers.
okay. But if we could have that piece of paper, then we could discuss it.
It's in the building code.
In the building code, yeah.
Online.
Because right now we're gonna be making a decision on how many trailers could be on a lot, or what lot, or whatever, well, we decided to push that to the next election, but after the next election. But it would be nice to have the information, what does the owner of the trailers need to dispose if our house is good enough?
But it,
I would say in that case, for the purposes of this, if residents are keeping trailers on a lot permanently, it is their responsibility to contact the appropriate agencies to find out what adequate is. So whether it's they can explain what their circumstance is, what they have in place already, and they will be advised by
Proper,
experts at the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority, who are responsible for that part of the building code in West Nipissing. They will be advised by the Conservation Authority what they need to do in order to have adequate services for their specific situation. Councillor Restool?
Sure, I don't know if there's any more. I think you stole my script here.
Oh, sorry.
But I just think it's the same thing as Councilor Rebrard said. If you want to build a house, we don't all need to know what the requirements are. You go to the building code, you go through our building officer, and they're going to tell you or direct you what you need to do. And I think it's the same situation here. I don't think in this document, we need to outline every single stage or level of what requires what. It's already there. And we're directing folks that they need to be in compliance with that for the adequate amount of what they need for infrastructure to support whatever number of structures or camping trailers or whatever it is. So for me, in my opinion, I think it's well written as it is. It keeps it where it's supposed to be, and we can direct, where staff can direct folks when they need direction. That's where you go. And they'll tell you what you need.
Councillor Rivard?
I would also just like to add that this does still hold the municipality. If someone doesn't have adequate, the bylaw officers and bylaw department and staff can ask for the removal of said trailers. So it isn't something of someone doing their job and someone not. This is so that there can be some enforcement for people following.
Yeah.
Building.
Thank you. Other questions, comments, 4.26.2? Counselor.
Thank you, Madam. Just see, says on a vacant lot zoned. Nothing else.
Zoned is crossed out.
None of mine.
Oh, it is on, well, it's on my printed.
Oh, okay,
staff report.
okay.
On a vacant lot, no
No, no,
camping
fine,
trailer
fine.
shall be located closer to any lot line. It's probably
Thank you.
just a version.
Yeah. Like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, any counselors want to propose any changes to 4.26.2? Okay, show of hands, everybody's okay as it's written here. Okay, thank you. Justification for revisions, we should. I think so, because I expect that there will still be some questions after we get through the staff report on other sections of the zoning bylaw. If I thought we were that close to the end, I'd say no, but I'll take that to the 10-minute recess. Okay, I'll take them over in a second here. Let's see, Lisa. Sorry, Councillor.
It is moved by Counselor Fedin, seconded by Counselor Zinn. At approximately 7:35 PM, a motion was tabled for a 10-minute recess.
Okay, all in favor? Scary, thank you. Okay, we'll come back to order, everybody. We're at page 5 of the staff report section 6.3 residential zone requirements. So there's a proposal to move the minimum frontage from 60 to 45 for privately serviced R1, R2, and RR. That came from a resident. Questions or comments on that? Councillor Pellerin, sorry. Oh, I don't recognize you with your haircut.
On this note, why not include the SR in that?
For shoreline residential, your frontage is measured at the water. So you are gonna get more dense on the water, which could increase like the environmental impacts. So we're just kind of keeping with a standard on that, because that was for more fringe rural development. To kind of align with what's currently or was previously done was those smaller lots. But
I wish we could go at, what is it, 45? 45 is what, 150 feet?
Yeah.
Years ago, I remember I fought for this. Remember planner at the time, was pushing for 300 feet lots. But we settled on 200, and I still think it should be 150. 150 is a nice, large lot. To me, it's a waste of very valuable land on the water. There's not that much anymore that's vacant. And we fit the same pal bed, all the same rules. I don't get it. Like 90% of the lots right now from Laving to Sturgeon are what, 75 feet wide? So we went to the extreme of 200. I didn't get it at the time, and I still don't. To me, 150 would be plenty. That's my,
So you would propose that change also apply to shoreline residential?
that's what
Is there any other reasoning? Like there's nothing within policy, provincial policy or anything like that, or?
I don't believe so. There's nothing that sets out a specific number, but it was just kind of maintaining that environmental protection and that neighborhood character for the shoreline residential that we didn't reduce it in there.
The minimum lot area wouldn't change.
Yeah, the minimum lot area wouldn't
that's
change.
right. Because if I may add, just to add to this, I remember Elliott Lake, when they sold, I forget the name of the lake, they sold a whole bunch of lots. And they were all at 150 feet wide. So if the Crown can do that, we certainly can.
Councillor Resto?
Just curious, because Councilor Pellerin knows a lot more about this than I do, but just so I can learn more. I understand the math of going from 200 to 150. How is the application of that for what exists in land right now? Like, I understand we're making smaller frontages, but is there that much available shoreline lots that this is gonna make a big difference to? Because you'd have to have probably 600 feet of frontage now to go from 3 200s to 4 45 or sorry, 4 3 200s as opposed to 4 150s. Do we have a lot of places that is going to affect? And I'm just looking because you asked a question. I'm just curious if staff knows or.
Even if we just have one, why not? It's just a number on the page. If it just affects one person, And then at 150 feet, you can always go for a minor variance. Go a little bit. You know, for somebody to be able maybe to sever one more lot.
Hmm.
You know, why not? Change one number on the page here.
They could apply for a minor variance now to go at 45s too, but I get your point, Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it also says it's privately serviced, meaning at 150 feet, do we have enough room if you're gonna be doing a well and a septic system? Can you, I guess it would depend on the area, the rocks and whatnot, but at 200 feet, like you were saying, sometimes it's easier to fit the well at 150 feet. You know, I'm in favor of both, as long as the person has, because you have to be a certain distance from your septic system to do the well.
Councillor Pellerin.
You can answer that too. From Leving to Sturgeon, all the lots are about 75 feet wide. And I'd probably say 90%, 95% have a well and a septic on a 75-foot lot. So we're talking about doubling that size. So this is not an issue.
Okay. Councillor St.
Thank you,
Louis.
Madam Mayor. Why are we changing? Like, what came up, what brought it up?
So
Just curious.
one of the, I just from the comment, because there was a written comment. When it was first kind of suggested, it was suggested in what we'd call fringe areas. So the areas that are surrounding our urban service areas. So let's say you look at Goulard Road, or you look at Canal, which are either within the well, it wouldn't be within, but either unserviced, but within the urban service areas, or just on the outside edges, so down the end of Salter Street, down the end of and what you can do is if you keep the lot sizes the same and you have a deeper but narrower lot, so less road frontage but deeper in the back, you can fit more lots along the road. And when you look at, say, a 20-year or 30-year horizon, when you look at the expansion of urban servicing, you know, as we grow and we're able to expand our water and sewer infrastructure, you're actually able to expand that infrastructure to a greater number of houses, because they're within the fringe, that kind of fringe area where they're that kind of next layer of growth for the municipality. They're the next areas that may be available to be fully serviced by. They're also close to other services. So, you know, when you look at Goulard Road, even though they're rural unserviced properties, you know, they're close to the complex, they're close to doctors. It's not like living up in River Valley. So you kind of increase the density of the population in the areas that are closest to the services provided by the municipality. So that was how the request or the comment came forward from the resident. And in talking to staff, you can't really identify the flare per se, or it has to be done by zone, so then you'd have to do it across all zones. The other benefit for those of us who have been hearing about some of the dust issues on our gravel roads and is having a narrower frontage and a deeper lot allows people to build a little further back off the road and maybe prevent some of the impacts of dust on gravel roads on residences. It's true though, if you're, you know, if lots deep and you build 100 feet off the road instead of 30 feet off the road, the amount of dust coming in your windows on June 1st is a lot different. So that's kind of where the suggestion came from. It's still the same lot size, but it does provide residents that have larger parcels that they may look to sever into residential building lots, the opportunity to get more lots in along the road frontage. So Councillor Pellerin has a suggestion that the shoreline residential be added to that too. I would see if there is a appetite for that with a show of hands. So moving shoreline residential to 45 feet minimum. Okay, good with that. And other questions or comments on the reduced frontage? Same lots, same minimum lot size, but to reduce lots permitted. So people don't have to make 45, they can still make a 60 lot if that's what they want to do, but it does provide a little bit more flexibility. Okay, moving on. Section 9.5.4, agricultural related uses. I saw in the red line version, there was one section that was taken out. So the version 3 of the bylaw had two separate sections, one for agricultural related uses and one for on-farm diversified uses. Have those been combined? Is that?
Oh, so through you, the the on-farm diversified uses, there's no changes to that section. We've removed the section pertaining to agricultural related uses in response to comments that we received from the OFA. Just to align the requirements of our zoning bylaw with provincial guidance. We originally had a maximum lot area for ag-related uses. Provincial guidelines on that topic don't set out a recommended or maximum area, so we've just removed that so that there's
What page are you looking at?
It's in the email that Mel sent. You have the red line version there?
Yeah.
would be
Sorry, I'll have to find it.
Sites back up.
It's section 9.5. I believe I don't have a page number for that.
would be on page 98.
Yeah. Is there a definition for agricultural related uses in the definition section?
Yes, there is. Just one moment. An agriculture related use is a farm related commercial and or farm related industrial use that is directly related to farm operations, support agriculture, benefit from close proximity to farm operations, and provide direct products and or services to farm operations as a principal use.
Okay, and there is a separate definition for on-farm diversified uses?
Yes, one moment. And on-farm diversified uses is uses that are secondary to the principal agricultural use of the property and limited in area. On-farm diversified uses include, but are not limited to agritourism uses, uses that produce value-added agricultural products, and electricity generation facilities and transmission systems and energy storage systems. Both of those are definitions from provincial policy.
Okay, and so agricultural related uses still apply, but we don't need a section in the zoning bylaw for it? Is that, I'm just trying to understand.
Yes,
all of
so
that.
cultural related uses are still permitted. There's just, we've removed the restriction on what percentage of that lot could be allocated to an agricultural related use.
Okay. Okay, any questions on that section? Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was talk in the past, the abattoir, does it follow what we're talking right now?
So through you and when we have the agricultural related uses, it was something that was the, sorry, I'm just trying to grab another definition for you here.
The abattoir?
So if you're doing something that's related to the products produced on the farm, if it's your own cattle, that would be permitted there. You can't have a separate full-on abattoir where I could bring my cattle to you. It can only be the animals raised on your farm or in like direct proximity to your farm.
May I ask why?
Because they are a very industrial use that do have a lot of regulations and sanitization requirements. There's a lot at a provincial level there.
Yes, but that would be up to the person if they want to go that route. Because I was, somebody brought it up at one of the open house and I remember somebody called me up after that and he was talking about like the abattoir in
Warren.
Egger.
Hey.
Okay. They have the same setup as a farmer. They have a lagoon that they use. So he was having trouble, but I guess finding somebody or whatever to haul this away. So to me, where else are you gonna put an abattoir if it's not on a farmland that you can put a lagoon? Put
An abattoir is permitted as an industrial use because it is an industrial use that can have the same fluid emissions. There are impacts that come with it, so it is best suited in a industrial location. So the small scale stuff is still permitted. It's if you're doing a full on processing, packaging, selling to wholesalers, that sort of thing, you have to be in the industrial.
I know what you mean, but.
Yeah.
Okay, you say your own meat or the people in the facility. Well, define the facilities of 2 kilometers, 10 kilometers, because I think there's a demand. Because I heard that somebody else wants to start one with all the biology, of the other shit, but
Organic,
what's
organic.
organic, yeah. So there's somebody else that's gonna apply for this in the near future.
Would they, sorry, let me just ask, in that situation, would there not be an opportunity to apply for rezoning? I'd like
Certainly could.
say there was a highway commercial zone property in Verner, or there was, so it's not that you can't do it. You can't necessarily do it in an ag related zone because, is that correct?
So it would not be permitted as an agriculture related use. You could do it in an industrial zone or apply to rezone the property to allow for an abattoir, and that will give us an opportunity to make sure that they do have all the licenses, they understand the process and the requirements, and that they're not too proximal to a residential use, that it will have impacts that conflict with the neighboring uses.
Because on a farmer, again, the minimum distance is still there. Anyway, to me, it's doesn't jive.
I don't know if there's a solution that Councilor Patan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification. So if a farmer decided that he wanted to start an abattoir on his farm and applied for a change of zoning to industrial to allow him to do that, could he still continue to farm the property?
But through you, we'd likely make a site-specific zone for the property to kind of accommodate what that proposal is.
Doesn't entail having to sever the property, it's just site-specific zoning on the same property.
Yes, we'd likely rezone the property to a site-specific zone to allow an abattoir as a permitted use in addition to any agricultural. But that lets us gives us the opportunity to review it and then as well circulate to agencies and say, oh, MAFA, we could circulate them for any comments on it at that point too.
So it's possible to do. It's just do it right.
It's not kind of as a right, as a farm
That's right.
related use or a on-farm diversified use as a larger scale operation.
Yeah.
But it's, it's the same as any property. If you have a residential zone property and you want to do A, B, or C with that property that is not residential, you have the option to apply to have that property rezoned and have that application examined for compatibility and all, all kinds of stuff that we want to know before we rezone those properties. So it's the same kind of, I would think. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yes. I retract my,
I'm okay.
Okay. It's not impossible, it's just that it's a process.
You know, I get it now. It's for a bigger,
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Samantha, off the staff report, is there anything that you need clarification for before we finish?
Not, I believe, no. If there's any other comments or things that are questions?
Okay, so with the agenda package that we received, we did receive the full set of comments that were received, as well as, opportunity to review again the zoning bylaws. So I just opened the floor up. If there are sections that were not covered in the staff report, that council has questions or suggestions on. Councilor Rivard.
Thank you for you. I guess I just shared around of a shipping metal container. I guess when we were adding that section in, my thought was it had to be in the backyard. I guess I just overlooked that whole minimum lot size requirement. And now, like, after a few people calling in asking, I don't fully understand why it has to be over an acre to have a shipping container in the backyard. There are a lot of lots in towns that are half an acre, 3/4 of an acre. Pretty easy to get a shipping container back there compared to maybe going through your neighboring property, bring a cement truck to pour a slab, what have you. And I just see it kind of as a shed accessory structure, like it still meets those requirements. But as of right now, I think if you're less than an acre, you would have to finish structure to look like a shed. Which I guess that's okay, but at the same time, I don't really see the real need for it. Maybe we could have some wording around actually, no. I was gonna say like dilapidated, but that's too tough to do at that point. But I just think like we should lower that limit so that if somebody can put one in their backyard, there's quite a few in town when I drive by and you barely really notice them unless you're really looking for it. So I don't see them as being an issue. And some of those properties, also some properties in town don't even back on to other properties. So those shipping containers aren't even visible other than by two people on next to an acre size lot. So I'd like to see maybe half an acre or 3/4 of an acre as the limit, but wanted to bring that up. It'd be simple compared to a shed structure or English.
Councilor Playwright.
To me, there should be no limit. If you can place it behind your house, you should be allowed. I bought one last fall and it's perfect. Better than a shed. You buy the one tripper, they're brand new, they're vented, right? If there's a tornado coming, you head for the sea can. No, it's, to me, there was this big rush there a few years ago. No sea cans, no sea can. I don't. It's a lot better than an old shed or. I don't know. I don't understand all those nitpicking. If you can place it behind your house, it should be allowed. That's it.
Any comments on that? What's that? Miss Well.
Thank you. Just if I may, I know that this was a large discussion we had near the beginning of this process. I just wanted to highlight that this 1 acre requirement, so the 400 square meters, in the residential 1 zone for a fully serviced lot, your minimum lot area is 450 square meters. So this restriction would only apply to lots that are undersized.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Can you,
Sorry,
for me,
fine.
section, so I.
Never mind. There's just an error in the bureaus here. Section 4.2.9, which is page 47.
That's 47? 40. Bottom. Bottom.
For clarity, it says 400 square meters, 1 acre.
Should be 4,000.
Let's see, 4,000, yeah.
Okay.
Well, 400 is good.
You're done.
And I guess just to clarify what I was asking was more or less around the, like it's still just a limit of one CCAN on a property, so you're not gonna start seeing these people that have these storage facilities. And the idea of, like we're asking people to kind of keep their yards tidy for machines and stuff, and some people, this is the most efficient, easiest option for them to store some of their equipment.
And safe.
Safe, so. I just feel like the 1 acre limit's a bit much.
So do you think that there should be a smaller limit, or do you think that it should be? Well, I know what you think. Asking Councilor Whitmore. I, just so we can bring it over the finish line, what's your proposal?
I would say half an acre, you can live comfortably. Councilor Pellerin wants to submit something else. Okay.
If it fits behind your house, you should be allowed.
So I have two proposals on the shipping containers, 4.2.9. Right now, the limit is in SR R1, R2, R3, only permitted in a minimum lot size of 1 acre. Who would be in favor of removing any lot size requirement whatsoever? Okay, who would be in favor of moving to a 0.5 acre lot size requirement? Okay. 0.5. Okay, other questions or comments, on Chris, on other sections of the bylaws that you'd like to bring up or discuss? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Okay. Any other closing comments from any members of council? Great. So, that gets us, through the meeting, and I will take the, confirmatory bylaw and adjournment, please.
It is moved by Councillor Nichol and seconded by Councillor Restool. It resolved that bylaw number 2026-51 being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to confirm that proceeding the council at its special meeting held on July 6, 2026 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
All in favor? Carried.
It was moved by Councillor Restool and seconded by Councillor Nichol. It resolved that the council special meeting held on July 6, 2026 be adjourned.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.